Good afternoon. I am Sloane Keane, and this is Mentorship Matters, the podcast where we talk to leaders who show up, stand up, and invest in the next generation. Today, I am joined virtually by California Chief Service Officer and the Governor's Office of Service and Community Engagement, Director Josh Fryday. So a month ago, Josh, we stood together here at this office and launched the California Men's Challenge. It was a bold call for 10,000 men to step up and serve. Since then, personally, we have seen incredible energy, new commitments, a renewed sense of community. Let's bring the audience up to speed. What are you seeing on your end, Josh?
I think the energy you're talking about and describing is a result of how just hungry and desperate people are for connection and for community, and also to be asked to contribute. It's one of the things that Sloan, you and I work on is you're a commissioner with California Volunteers appointed by the governor to think about how to engage more people in service and we see this not just in this initiative around calling on men to step up and mentor, but across the board with all of our service programs where I think people just one they want to be part of something, but they also want to know that they're valued and they're needed by their society. And this call to action that we've done together is sending that message clearly, and people are responding to it.
I love that. It has been my life's mission to call people to service. Right, mentorship takes two. And one of the most common, I would say, comments when I talk to people is, "I didn't know you needed volunteers." Right. So the one thing I love about this challenge is we're being bold, we're being upfront, we are challenging California that we need you. Particularly men. And I mean, let's talk a little bit about why. There's a crisis today with men and boys. Um, we one of the partners in the service challenge is Richard Reeves and the Institute of Boys and Men, and he is quoted in saying research from his institute shows that men are less likely to feel connected to friends and community. That's important. Why do you think this is important, Josh?
Well, that one stat you just mentioned is important because we're human beings, which means we all need friends and community. So when we look at the data, and it's very sobering, the data, where 1 in 6 men under the age of 30 report to having no close friends. And then we look at the reality that men right now are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than young women. They're more likely in California, at least, to be unemployed. They're less likely to go to school. We just look at the data, and we are, as you said, we are in a crisis. And then we look at other facts that where right now we for probably a variety of reasons, which we can dive into. Men are less likely to volunteer with our service corps programs that we run, where we have over 10,000 service members in California right now doing paid service programs with the state. We have for every 2 women that step up to serve, only 1 man does. And I think we see that reality even with your organization, with Big Brothers Big Sisters, where there's long waiting lists of boys in need of a mentor, a role model, someone to guide them and love them and connect with them. And we're in just a reality that we have to face, and we have to be very blunt about it, where men haven't stepped up. And so that's part of what we're trying to do is to send this message that you said clearly, make it absolutely crystal clear to people that we need you. And then our hope is that it's a double win. It's a win for the mentors that step up because they know that they're valued and they can give back and they can be connected. And then it's a win for the next generation who desperately need that mentorship and that relationship and connection as well.
I love that you mentioned that. We see the same statistics here on our end. Women are 3 times more likely to volunteer, and I know that you've been quoted saying this, and I agree at the same time. I mean, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can still empower women and also identify that there's an opportunity today, a crisis, if you will, that really needs focusing on, and we need to elevate and lift up our young boys. And the best way to do that is to provide them a positive male role model, whether it's a coach, a tutor, a mentor, which is kind of what I specialize in. So it's a pleasure to be a partner with you and with the governor's office on this challenge. And I think particularly heading into the holiday season, loneliness and connection are known to be in short supply. So I think the timing of this challenge is wonderful.
Well, thank you. We agree. And it's really interesting, Sloan. You know who we've gotten, I would say, the best feedback from, at least anecdotally, in addition to young men wanting to step up to serve, which they are. The people we've gotten the best feedback from are moms, our moms and grandmothers
Yep.
who are seeing what's happening to their sons, and they're seeing how disconnected they are and how untethered they are. And so it's actually been really it's been really heartwarming, as you say, to say, that we're seeing we can continue to uplift girls and women as we should and as we need to, while also identifying that we have to do more to reach men, and when we do, everyone wins.
That is so, I love that you said that. So, part of our program is like a three-legged stool. We have the mentor, the mentee, and then we have the family. Over half of our youth come from a single parent household. And it is truly the perspective of mom and or dad that really kind of, is jaw dropping. I mean, it is the ability to see the impact, the scalability of having someone walk into somebody's life and meet them where they are. It's life changing,
Yeah.
frankly. I think you're quoted of saying like loneliness is an epidemic and service is the cure. And I think that's the point. That's the point of this challenge. That's what we're trying to do. So tell me, you know, how has mentorship played a role in your own life?
I would not be where I am, at all with if it weren't for mentors, if it weren't for people who guided me, men and women, who helped me and also put me in line when I needed it, held me accountable. I when I think about mentorship, I think it's not just about connection. I think it's like how we achieve our dreams. And from a young age, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be in service. I was fascinated by politics and by government. But my parents didn't work in politics. They didn't work in government. And so I had to seek out people who could help me on this path. And I was just very fortunate that I had mentors at a young age who were willing to guide me and willing to teach me, and again willing to let me know when I'm going astray, and cared enough about me to straighten me up. And I just think to myself, if it wasn't for them, I absolutely wouldn't be here. And so part of my passion and mission for not just making sure that my three boys have mentors, and in their lives, but that more people, more young people in our state, get to have that same sort of guidance that I did.
And I love that insight. I mean, you and I are both. I'm a boy mom. I have two boys myself, and we have a front row seat, right, to see on
Yeah.
today. And it's a battle. It's a battle. It's a digital battle. It's a social media battle. I mean,
Yeah.
it is really, you really have to fight for connection today. And I love what you're saying. I mean, I myself can think of multiple people. It takes a village. It's not one person. Typically, it's a bunch of people. And so what I love about this service challenge, because everybody does love a challenge, right? We are challenge oriented society.
I think what's important, and why our partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters is so critical is we have to create civic infrastructure that allows everyone to have an on ramp, whether you can spend a year or you have an hour. The point is that we need everybody. Our challenges are so big, and our issues are so complex that we feel like we need everyone. We need every Californian to step up, which means we need to create an opportunity for everyone, no matter where they are in life. And I think that's how we've tried to approach it. And it's also why partnerships like with Big Brothers Big Sisters is so critical, because you give that opportunity for people at different stages in life, to give back and to know that they are valued and they're needed by society. So but that's the kind of, I think, Sloan, the kind of civic infrastructure we have to keep investing in. And as a society, we haven't done enough over the last several decades, and it's partly why we're in the mess we are in right now.
I love that civic infrastructure. I couldn't agree more. You know, it's the world has to evolve, right? And so every organization, every service, you know, if it's truly community centric, you know, it has to be in responsive to the community, right? And agree with you. Kind of on our end of the fence, we're creating opportunities for young men to step up and step in kind of an athletic environment. We have a sports buddies program now. We have kind of a big careers program for those who've kind of been there and made it and want to help out a first generation student navigating post-secondary success. I mean, I absolutely agree with you. There is no reason to not step up and give some service today. You know, whether you have the time, the money, we will work with you. And I think that that's where the challenge is we need you. We need you today.
Right. I also think, and sometimes, candidly, there's people who push back on me, but this is my own personal experience. I think people actually are looking for a challenge, especially young people. I think, and saying and being honest that, yeah, service is hard. Guess what? When I was in the military, it was hard. It was also the best thing I've ever done. And when we challenge ourselves, when we push ourselves outside of our comfort zones, it's where we grow. It's where we become bigger and better human beings. And so I actually do think, Sloane, that us being honest and saying, we're going to create an opportunity for everyone, no matter where you are. And it's gonna be a challenge because some of this is work. Like I actually think people are looking for that. I mean, it's like you think about the old army commercials, like "Be all you can be," right? It's like
Yeah.
people seeking sort of like, yeah, this is something that it takes guts and it takes courage to do, to be a mentor, to put yourself in a situation with a young person who's looking for guidance and looking for love. That's hard. And that's exactly what we need, though. It's why we need you, because and you're capable, and we have confidence in you. Like I think people need to hear that message. And if we're loud about it, I actually think, as we're seeing right now, people will respond to it.
I'm right on the same page with you. I mean, it's that's exactly right. It is hard, but guess what? It's worth it. And you know, I say this to my kids every day. I'm like, you can do hard things, right? I mean, so I think as a society, we need to really start thinking about a challenge exactly in that way. Like we can do hard things. That is why we are the best country, you know, on the planet because we do hard things, you know, and so I love that. It is a challenge and it's one that we can meet. I have faith in humanity. That is I am on the side of humanity. Um, so so part of this podcast, right, is you know we're all kind of in our lanes and we're all trying to achieve you know our level of I would call it like social ROI, right, return on investment. Um, I'm a big fan of partnerships. I really think they make the world go round, and you know nobody can do it alone. So you know when we talk about partnerships and we look at this public-private sector, and there's been a lot of successes lately. I know that your office just announced a $5 million investment in this initiative. Tell us a little bit about that and what you're thinking about kind of putting where your money where your mouth is, per se.
Well, from a global perspective, this is an all hands on deck moment, and that means we need everybody. And there's no way that we solve the challenges facing our society, including the male mental health crisis, including climate change, including education. No matter pick your issue, without everyone working together in some way. And government cannot solve these challenges alone. And it's a mistake for us to send the message that it can. And so the only way we solve these challenges is with individuals, but also with our partnerships with organizations that make up that civic infrastructure we were talking about. And so part of what we see our role as is investing in helping foster that civic infrastructure that is so critical for us to meet our mentorship needs and to meet our service needs. And so we put out as part of the Men's Service Challenge, we've identified $5 million to invest directly into organizations that are going to create opportunities for people to serve and to mentor and to help our specifically to focus on helping young boys and populations that, again, if you just look at the data, are struggling. And so we think this is an absolutely a worthwhile investment. It's just a start, but I think it hopefully signifies that we can't solve this alone. It's gonna have to be in partnership, and we hope that we can continue to deepen our partnerships with organizations like Big Brothers Big Sisters, and also so many others across the state that we need in order to solve these challenges.
I love that. And I love using the terminology, words matter, right? Investment. I mean, when you invest in prevention,
Yeah.
the return is exponential, right? And so when you think about, and what I love about this service challenge is it's upstream. Like we all know we have issues, with mental health, with suicide ideation and committing suicide, frankly, with workforce, with post-secondary persistency. We can go to the bottom line, and we often do. And I think that's important. But we can also look at prevention. What if that young person never needed service, right? Never needed, a practitioner from mental health, or never needed to drop out of school, right? What would a world like that look like? And that is what I am so proud to be part of, because I really believe that when we invest in mentorship, we invest in prevention, and that is the quickest and easiest way to stem some of these systemic problems we have today.
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, two quick things. One is several mayors across the state have made your point and have called our service programs some of their best. They call them crime and homeless prevention programs because it's about that investment on the front end, and it's going to cost us at some point. And the question is, do we do it on the front end, and we then help people create meaningful lives of purpose and dignity, or are we paying for it on the back end when often it's too late? And so you're right. Investing on the front end makes total sense. And I also think though that, and I hope Sloan, I hope people who listen and the people that we work with hear this message of, because I think it's actually empowering. I think so many people in California see the challenges we have around homelessness and around poverty and education, and they sort of they feel paralyzed because like the issue seems so big. But the vision you just laid out is saying to everyone, no, there's actually something you can do about it. Like you want to deal with homelessness? Guess what? Be a big brother and make sure that we help a foster kid who percentage wise is more likely to end up on the streets. Let's help them early, and let's guide them early, and let's love them early. And to me, I think, an empowering message. But it's why we have this challenge, because we need more people to step up and fill that role.
Yeah, that is, you're right on. You're spot on. And I'll shout out some local investors who are kind of forward thinking. Cal Optima just gave our region $1 million grant. And it's within preventing the homelessness sector. So we're starting to see some real traction in understanding that, prevention really is the key. And that's the goal of this challenge. So
Yeah.
all right, so everyone always wants to know what's next, okay? What's next, all right? So I know we launched this challenge. We're kind of moving our way around the state, and up north, down south, and I think you were in San Luis Obispo. I mean, you are all over the state talking about this challenge. So what's next on your end?
We're at the stage where we need to do what you talked about, which is deepen in our partnerships and create new partnerships. I also think we have to, and this is the hard part. Our team was just talking about this yesterday. We have to create challenge. We have to create partnerships. I think with some non-traditional players that are going to help us reach this population. They're going to help us reach men who aren't showing up at Big Brothers Big Sisters events, who maybe aren't connected to other organizations, but they're on platforms that maybe we haven't partnered with. They're watching sporting events. They're playing video games, and it's like that's who we need to figure out how do we reach this population. So, and that's going to take some creativity and some elbow grease. So I think that's where the next stage is, and that's why I also appreciate that you've created this partnership with iHeartRadio and others in your community to really think about how do we reach people differently, because that's what it's going to take. And so that's what we're focused on right now, and is building out these partnerships and just keep getting the message out that we need you.
I love that. I completely agree. I mean, we can, you and I are knee deep in it, but we're kind of preaching to the choir proverbially, right? So, how do we reach these young men who we desperately need to step up and who are called? And that's why I think, again, in the spirit of partnerships, iHeartMedia has stepped up and pledged support, and I really love the platforms. To your point, we have to get creative. It's not just mainstream media anymore. We have to meet our potential service volunteers where they are on the media they consume. And so getting creative about that is kind of part of the job, and it's also kind of fun, right? It keeps us young. But
Definitely keeps.
it definitely, I mean, if my kids are any indication, it's YouTube, and it's fast and it's furious, and it's short. But it's exciting, and I agree with you that this is kind of the next step, at least on our end, is really how do we communicate this far and wide, right? How do we motivate and inspire? And I love that you aren't afraid of a challenge. I agree with you. I think the world responds to strength, and it responds to its challenge, and we definitely have one. We have a crisis, we have a challenge, and we need you, right?
Yeah.
So, kind of in the final phase of this conversation, I know you're a father, you're a veteran, you are a man who's deeply called to service. What would you say to young men today to inspire them to step up and volunteer?
I would say you have a chance to be a hero. That you have a chance to have a real role in society and in shaping your community, and that your community desperately needs you. And that if you're willing to sort of have the courage to take that first step towards a life of service, or towards joining an organization where you can serve and help someone else, that you're going to be a hero, and that we need heroes right now. We're at a time right now, I think people are so disillusioned, people are cynical, people are isolated and lonely, as you talked about. And what that's created is almost this collective paralysis of like, the problems are too big, we can't solve it. I think that's total BS. And so my message would be, that if you're listening to this, that we need you, as we've talked about earlier, and we need heroes, and this is the way you can be one.
I love that. I love that. So, boys are waiting, men are needed. Let's answer the call together. Thank you, Josh, for being on today. Thank you for your service, your leadership. As you're right, I am a fellow commissioner of the California Volunteer Commission and the Office of Go Serve. If you are listening and you want to get involved today, you can visit our mensservicechallenge.com to pledge your service. You can also go to bbbscalifornia.org. If you want to go directly to mentorship, come talk to me. But we encourage all of our listeners to share this podcast and hashtag Men's Service Challenge. So thank you, Josh, for being here. Thank you for being my partner in trying to stem this crisis and to change the world, one service member at a time.
You're so lucky for this partnership. Appreciate you. Thank you, Sloane, and thank you to your team. Your team, and your incredible organization is making this possible, and we are going to be successful because we have no other choice. So thank you.